I'm Alan Branhagen, the Executive Director of the Natural Land Institute, and I'm so glad you are all here tonight. We have a full capacity crowd. You know, it's just great to be in a room of so many people supporting conservation and protection of land in northern Illinois and again in adjacent Wisconsin. But we follow in the footsteps of a great man who founded the Natural Land Institute, George Fell, and I was lucky enough to know him when I lived in the community back in the 80s and early 90s. What a force of nature he was, and I think that whenever we get together like this, we need to be reminded of why we are all here, and I'm so glad Kurt Johnson did this beautiful video for us to see the exaltation of all of nature that we have experienced in the past year. So let's sit back for about 4 minutes and enjoy this video. So did your heart rate drop a little bit? I mean, we all know in this room how important connection with nature is. So I thought we needed to bring that into this room this evening. Well, next year, we'd like to do a similar video to this, but we want to hear what your story is. What was it that inspired, that brings you joy in nature and inspired you to want to save nature? We'd really like to capture that and maybe play that next year, or maybe sometime it'll be a bigger feature that we'll show instead of having a speaker. But please think about that. I wish we had more time tonight. I'd quick grab from the crowd, get some quick stories here, but we don't have time. But think about that and contact Kim Johnson at the office and share your story. We may come out and grab a video of that. But I know all of us have really interesting stories about why we're here tonight and why we protect and love nature, and we'd really like to capture that. And yes, our major sponsor for the evening leads me in. Excuse me, Mike.
That's my mom.
Yeah. Let us give thanks to our guest speaker sponsor tonight, Sue. And I also have to add, it was her friendship with one of the land acquisitions that we were able to make this year that brought that landowner to talk to us and be a willing seller to go to the next slide and save the Blair Road woodlands, which is an old growth, 21-acre forest sliver along Blair Road, that what you saw in the beginning of that video. And there's a view actually looking to the northeast, that's Best Road. And of course, this is really important buffer for around the Pecatonica Wetlands Forest Preserve. And mark your calendars for May 5th, because we're gonna have an open house out there to take you on tours to show you some of the specialties of that new acquisition. The chartreuse shag on this is the black maples, which, this is a very unique dry mesic forest dominated by white oaks and black maples. And that's what they look like in bloom. And then, of course, hopefully the Virginia bluebells will also be at peak along with so many other spring ephemerals. And I also have to remind you, the naming opportunity for the site is available. So anyway. And then I also have to announce that Tuesday, we gained another 149 acres of conservation lands around Beach Cemetery Prairie Nature Preserve, one of the finest remnant prairies in Illinois. And if you've never been there, coming up in May when the shooting stars are at peak, it's a spiritual experience. Go there. But we know that preserving little tiny postage stamps like that doesn't work in the long run. And there's Zach Reichen, our former Director of Land Stewardship, and he and I met with the landowner of the adjacent farmland because we knew we needed to buy some buffer to preserve that land, because some of the things just aren't doing well there. They're getting inbred. You need extra populations on, little subpopulations of stuff, and there's no room for that. And that's Wes Brandt. And he goes, well, how much would you like to buy of our property? What was our answer? All of it. Yeah. So, and luckily, he believes in conservation. He's a board member of the Clem Arboretum, and he sold us all of it. And it's basically the remnants of a quarter section. Watch as we come up with some really neat plans on how to restore those. You can see the other little gravel pieces there where we can do subpopulations, but it also, go to the next slide, has a 3-acre little remnant of prairie that we didn't even know was in the back along the old railroad tracks. So obviously it's brushed in, but we're gonna work on that in the future here. All these papers, I know. Maybe I should just put them down. But yeah, again, mark your calendar for September 9th when we have an open house at the Beach Cemetery Prairie. We're trying to time it with the beautiful purple wands of the rough blazing stars, with the migrating monarchs, and hopefully we'll even have migrating songbirds and take you back to see the other prairie remnant and the interesting old railroad tracks and trestles, and talk about how we are going to do some really innovative conservation practices there. We also closed on a conservation easement in Carroll County. Remember the Natural Land Institute? We have a big area to cover, 12 counties, from Boone County and northern DeKalb County all the way west to Rock Island County. And wonderful for the Gary and Marilyn Anderson to put a conservation easement on an old growth 40-acre parcel of their property. But we are working on a whole bunch of other ones. Hopefully in Boone County, we've got some money, thanks to Pivot and Trajectory Energies, to work on conservation easements there. And we've got 3 going on in Bureau County, as you can see, Lee County, Ogle County, and Winnebago County as well. And thank you to our volunteers as an organization. You can see how many helped us. I will say, stand up if you're an NLI volunteer, so we can applaud you tonight. You really help us make the difference on what we do. And of course, we also celebrate our volunteers every August with a picnic at Nigrin Wetland Preserve. And we give away a stewardship and, the other one, a special award. And also Pat Kenny was one for all the work that she does. And I also want to introduce, we have a new stewardship staff. You saw the picture of Zach Reichen, but now he works for Citizens for Conservation, a little closer to home. But now we have Kyle as of January. And yes, Kyle. But I also want to introduce Grace Whelan, if you've not met her. And Kate Nelson, our newest, who started on February 23rd, who's also here tonight, former Alva Leopold Foundation Land Stewardship Fellow. So we have this great team, and I gotta remind you again, last year we introduced this, joy of giving to our stewardship endowment campaign, which helps us be able to take care of our land and pay good staff. And we raised over $550,000 last year. Again, I remember I announced last year we got a $250,000 gift at this meeting a year ago. Well, so far this year we got an anonymous $280,000 gift to kick off this year, because this is an ongoing thing. And please take a look at this. They should be out there. Again, we have some really nice naming opportunities and so on, so that you can carry on a legacy of care for our lands. And of course, our Legacy Tree program has also been extremely successful. 5 new state champions, which just blew me away that we ended up finding that many, and actually 3 pending, and potentially 2 more. So you can see, I was going to name the people, but that's okay. Yeah. Randy Johnson with the Black Maple on Moody Road, and Tyler Smith with the largest Kentucky coffee tree, and Tom and Teresa Shiloh with the new largest red oak, and Jack Armstrong with the largest paper birch in Dahlquist Park, and the Forest Preserves of Winnebago County team, Dan Olson and their stewardship team with the new champion rock elm. So, all right. And also notice there, we're looking for sponsorships for that program. And I also want to introduce tonight, we're doing tree tributes at the Diane Nora Nature Trail at Nigrin Wetland Preserve. So if you want to commemorate someone there, that will also help us raise money for our Gordon G. Eggers Endowment Fund, which helps us manage Nigrin Wetland Reserve, which, is our signature preserve, has, 9,000 visitors a year, our premier birding hotspot. So we're watching for the whooping cranes, by the way, coming through this year. So, and yeah, just cheers to 2026. We again reminding you that we want to hear your story. And we're going to be putting that together in a video next year. Let me get to my last sheet here. So, and again, whether you gave $5, actually, I forgot to mention, it was an anonymous gift of land that helped us purchase that Beach Cemetery Prairie acquisition, $1.3 million gift. So, but the $5 gifts matter too, and together we made a difference last year. Well, now I want to celebrate a shock that 1/3 of all our George Fell recipients are in the audience tonight. And I actually want them to stand as I call them out, but please hold your applause till the end. We have Carrie Lee here tonight. I know, it's hard not to. And Fran Hardy, I didn't even get to see him yet tonight. He's here though, right? Where's Fran? All right. And Steve and June Keebler are here. Didn't get to meet them yet. All right, there they are. Randy Nybauer, I did get to talk to him. All right. Jerry Paulson, I also missed him so far tonight. He's here somewhere. He's at a meeting, he's not here yet. Lee Johnson, I did talk to him. Meg Bushnell, who I've not seen for a long time, is here tonight. The last program I gave before I left for Kansas City, I gave for Meg in Oregon on butterflies way back in 1996. And Jack and Joyce Armstrong. And Mary Blackmore. So now give an applause to our choir winners. Unfortunately, we did lose 2 of our wonderful recipients in the past year, so if we could just have a little moment of silence for George Johnson and Nancy Hamill-Winter. They sure were spectacular contributors to conservation in our area. I know that the Hamill Family Foundation gave NLI over $1.5 million, so she'll greatly be missed.